At a pub on a summer night in 1989, a man named Ronald was approached by an unidentified man who offered him and his wife a job. Ron and his family were offered employment, good wages, accommodation, and the chance to work in the Canadian wilderness. Being unemployed at the time, this was welcome news to Ron, and he accepted the offer. The family packed up and left, and they were never seen again. More than 35 years later, investigators still don't know what actually happened to Ron and his family, or whether they ever reached the supposed location of this job. This is the story of how the Jack family disappeared. So before we get into today's video, as always, a quick reminder to like and subscribe if you do enjoy my content. I make videos on true crime, mysteries, and the paranormal. So if that sounds right up your street, please consider joining the community. Let's get back into it. The Jack family consisted of Ron Jack, his wife Doreen, and their two young sons, Russell, aged 9, and Ryan, aged 4. They lived in Prince George, British Columbia, where, like many families, they were working hard to build a stable life. Friends and relatives described Ron as a caring father who was always looking for ways to provide for his family. Doreen was entirely devoted to raising their two boys, who were known to be happy and energetic children. Money wasn't always easy to come by though, and when an opportunity for well-paid work arose, it offered something the family desperately wanted: security. A steady income could mean a fresh start and a better future for all four of them. Nothing about their lives suggested they were planning to disappear. They didn't tell friends or relatives they intended to cut ties, they didn't withdraw large sums of money, and there were no signs that they wanted to abandon the life they had built. Instead, everything pointed to the family preparing for an exciting new chapter, a chapter that would never be. So on a Tuesday night in August 1989, after the Jack family had relocated to Prince George, a still unemployed Ron visited the First Litre pub 4 blocks away from their rented house. And it was here that an unidentified man approached him and offered he and his wife jobs at a logging camp 24 miles away. The man told Ron the job would last between 10 days and 2 weeks and would include work for Doreen as the camp cook and daycare for the Jack children. This man was reportedly white, in his late 30s, about 6 to 6.5 foot tall, and weighed between 90 and 120 kilos. The man had reddish brown hair and a full beard, and was wearing a ball cap, a red checkered work shirt, faded blue jeans, a blue nylon jacket, and work boots. Because the Jack family didn't own a vehicle, the man offered to transport them to the logging camp. Early the next morning, the Jack family prepared to leave for what they believed was the start of a new job. Ron called his brother to arrange for his sons to stay with him while he was working, but unfortunately his brother couldn't do it. He then called his mother and actually told her, "If I don't come back, come and look for me." Two relatives of Doreen, including her sister Lorraine, visited the house, and witnesses saw the family waiting outside a motel for the pickup truck and packing their belongings into it when it arrived. They then climbed into the vehicle and the truck drove away. And this would be the last confirmed sighting of the family. At first, nothing about their departure seemed suspicious. Friends and relatives believed they had simply gone to begin their new job. And because the work was said to be in a remote area, it wasn't unusual to expect that communication might be limited for a while. But as the days turned into weeks, something just didn't feel right. The family never contacted their relatives, and it gradually became clear that the Jack family hadn't simply moved away, they'd vanished. So everything here hinges on one unanswered question. Who was the man in the pickup truck? If the job was indeed genuine, it doesn't make sense that the family never arrived. If it wasn't, then someone may have deliberately lured an entire family into one of the most isolated regions of British Columbia. As concerns grew, investigators began searching for answers. When family members reported them missing, investigators started piecing together the family's final known movements. They discovered there was no record of Ron ever beginning work at the logging camp he'd supposedly been hired for. In fact, despite extensive inquiries, the police were unable to confirm that the job, or even the man who had offered it, actually existed. Detectives appealed to the public for information, hoping someone might recognise the mysterious man or remember the pickup truck. Over the years, several witnesses have come forward, but none of the leads were enough to identify the driver or reveal where the family had been taken. Investigators also examined financial records and other official documents, looking for a sign that the family had started a new life elsewhere. But there was no evidence that they had settled in another community, and no confirmed sightings after they got into that pickup truck. One of the greatest challenges was the sheer scale of British Columbia itself. With thousands of kilometres of remote logging roads, searching every possible route was virtually impossible. If the family had travelled into the wilderness, they could have disappeared into one of the most isolated landscapes in North America. So with so little evidence to work with, investigators and independent researchers have been left to consider several possible explanations. The first theory, and possibly the most obvious, is that the job offer was a trap. As we've said, police have never been able to identify the man who made the initial job offer or confirm the job ever existed. If it was fabricated, it raises a disturbing possibility that someone deliberately targeted Ron, knowing that the promise of steady work would persuade him to bring his whole family along. The mystery then becomes, why? Was it a planned murder, or was there another motive to take them? The second theory is that there was an accident in the wilderness. So this possibility is that the family did reach a remote area but suffered a tragic accident. Supporters of this theory suggest that the vehicle may have crashed or become submerged in water or ended up somewhere else. It wouldn't be the first time missing vehicles have remained hidden for decades in remote landscapes. And the third theory is that they chose to disappear. Whenever someone goes missing, investigators must consider whether they left voluntarily. This is less likely in this case though, because the family left behind relatives they cared about, there was no activity on their bank accounts and no confirmed sightings and no indication they were planning to start over elsewhere. Moreover, Ron, as we said, told his mother, if I don't come back, come and look for me. So I'm pretty sure that someone who was planning to disappear wouldn't say that. In fact, these words support the theory that it was a trap. So there's many reasons this case sticks with us. The countless loose ends to the story makes it frustrating and leaves an uneasy feeling in our stomachs, right? The remote wilderness they were supposedly driven to makes it feel isolating and more devastating, especially with the two children being involved. The mystery isn't just where did they go, it's who convinced an entire family to leave with them. More than 3 decades have passed since the Jack family climbed into a pickup truck and disappeared. And what was left was a family unit shaken and an endless amount of questions. Whether they fell victim to foul play, became lost in one of Canada's most unforgiving landscapes, or met another unknown fate, we just don't know. Somewhere, perhaps in the vast wilderness of British Columbia, lies the answer to the Jack family's fate. Until it's found, one of Canada's most haunting disappearances remains unsolved. And that is the case of the disappearance of the Jack family. I do enjoy covering these kind of cases because it does share the story. Like, a lot of these cases I don't think we've ever heard of before. I personally hadn't heard of this case. It's that fact, I think, that I like doing these stories, because it shares the fact that these people are still missing. Like, we don't know what happened to them. We don't know if they were murdered. We don't know if they were kidnapped, or God knows, okay? But like I said, that's why I like covering them, to spread the word, to spread that message. And hopefully one day, no matter how awful it seems, you know, how bleak it seems, they might actually come home. But yeah, I don't know. I personally agree with theory 1 the most, because all of the signs point to it being some kind of trap. It's just so unlikely that even in the 80s, someone would approach someone else out of the kindness of their own heart. It's really, really bad to say that, but I personally think it's theory number 1. But do let me know what you think, or if you think it's a completely different circumstance, let me know. But thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next one.